Hello everyone, back to you in today's video. Going to have a look at whether it's week to 10 days. In today's video, this takes us into the start of September. We'll go to around the 10th of September, first day of September today, of course. We'll start off centering the temperature because we've got the final stats in for August. Been a warm August. And we'll see how warm it's been in a second. Going on with that, they just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. And thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages which open up content when you watch them. They close back up again. Doesn't help to pay for GavsWeatherVids.com. So we'll start off with the Central England temperature. As I say, we've got the final number in from Hadley for August. And August 2016 has come out at 17.0, which is the warmest month of the summer. June came out at 15.3 and July 16.9, both seeding summer months, warmer than average, and now August just pips July to be post and becomes the warmest month of the summer. Has been a warm summer with all summer months coming out over a degree above average. And this is the warmest August since quite some time ago, actually, 12 years ago, 2004, when we came out at 17.6 just there. The last time we had a very hot August was the year before that in 2003. I'm sure you remember it. We came out that August at 18.3. It was really hot in the first part of that month in particular, with temperatures going up over 100 Fahrenheit in Grays End. Famously, on the, I think it's the 10th of August, 2003. So it's been a long time since we've had a warm August, or August in between 2004 and this year, been generally close to average or a little bit above average. 2013 was quite warm at 16.9. But anyway, warmest August since 2004. Been a pretty good summer down across the south of the country. The yearly central temperature is ticking up. Now, I had a bit of a cooling with the CET a few years ago. This chart takes us back into the 1700s with the yearly Central England temperatures. It's quite an interesting chart because we go right way back towards the middle part of the 18th century just there, and then go to present day, which is over here. You see that through most of the 20th century, we have warming taking place of the central temperature. So back in the earlier part of the century, 20th century, around here in the 40s and 50s, we're quite cool. Very, very gradually through the course of the second half, particularly of the 20th century, into the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, we find the trend line going up and up and up and up and up. And then we reach this peak here around the middle part of the last decade. So around 2005, 2006 is when we had a peak in the yearly CETs. It was this year just here, 2006. After which we had quite a pronounced cooling. You see how that red trend line drops down quite significantly. It's the biggest drop in the central trend probably since around the late 1950s, early 1960s, where there was, temporarily anyway, a brief drop in the temperature before it gradually started to lift up again. So we had quite a big drop in yearly CETs from around 2007 going through to, let's say, around 2012, something like that. After which we've gradually been lifting the temperature up again, which you see this year, which looks really cold. It stands out amongst all these warm years that we've got here, all these warm years, or warmer than average years. This year stands out. That's 2010. That's when we had a cold winter in 09-10, had a fairly coolish summer, and then we had a really, really cold, severely cold December in 2010 as well. And that came out as around the coldest year since 1986. But really, since then, the central temperature has been ticking back up again. You can see that the red trend line is on its way up. It isn't yet back to where it was in the middle part of the last decade. It isn't quite yet quite back to that level, but it certainly is moving back upwards again, and the green bar here is 2016. So this is provisional to where we are right now, up to the end of August. And you see another very warm year, or certainly significantly warmer than average year, is upon us once again. Not quite getting up to the level of 2006, and the warmest year on record is 2014, actually, interestingly. We're not getting back to that level for 2016, although we might do, I suppose. We have a very warm end to the year, but certainly a warmer than average month once again, continuing this upwards movement in the red trend line back towards where we was perhaps in the 1990s and the early 2000s. Start off on a bit of a tangent there. Hope you found that interesting. Let's get back to the weather for the next week to 10 days. So we'll start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies. We've got the ECMWF on the top, the GFS is on the bottom. Have a look at that in a moment. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure being moved around by jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. These are mean flow charts next 10 days. And we can see what's going on here. We've got a big ridge with the ECMWF set to the east of the country, trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. The jet stream doing something like that, so it places us on the warm side of the jet, and with high pressure to the east, we're going to be pulling up southerly winds. So warm weather continues. That's the basic message. We are going to have slightly cooler and more unsettled spell over the weekend, particularly on Saturday. But overall, going inside of September, does look like warm weather will be staying with us for the time being. There's no sign of a breakdown of this ridge to the east. GFS has it as well. There it is, sitting to the east and the northeast. Low pressure in the Atlantic, and again places us on the warm side of the jet. So at least for the early part of September, we're going to be keeping temperatures well above average. This is the GFS temperature and precipitation on summer chart for the next 2 weeks, but red line here, 30-year temperature average. We're above average at the moment. As I say, going to go a little bit cooler over weekend, but next week, look at this, back to significantly warmer than average temperatures once again. Now, there is quite a bit of scatter in with this, especially when we get to the second half of the chart. But really, it's even with the scatter, it's still significantly warmer than average. You see that from the white trend line. So we're just talking about uncertainty in terms of whether it's very warm or whether it's just warmer than average. There's very little there to suggest we're going into a particularly cool period through the first half of September. Now, quite big rainfall spikes over weekend, so we are looking at, I think, really quite a wet spell actually, especially on Saturday and overnight into Sunday down in the south. There could be some really quite wet weather. Once that's out of the way though, loads of dry weather coming up next week, and then into the middle part of the month, so the second week of September if you like, the rainfall spikes do start to come back a little bit, but generally that's still looking pretty dry. So we've got a burst of rain, and quite heavy rain at that, over the weekend, but once that's out of the way, loads of dry weather in association with all of this warm weather. Temperature anomalies from the 1st through to the 9th of September come out significantly warmer than average, anything from around 2 to 4 degrees above average, and you see virtually the whole of Europe is significantly warmer than average as well, with some places, Spain and Portugal, for example, and southern France, going up nearly to 8 to 10 degrees above average. So summer really, really holding on over the bulk of Europe through the course of the coming week. Autumn will arrive in the end, but there's no sign of it yet, really. Precipitation anomalies, again, generally quite dry. And that, of course, includes the wet spell that we've got coming up over the weekend. So it's just going to show how dry it's going to be next week if we can offset all of that rain that we've got coming up on Saturday and Saturday night. The generic charts, we've got high pressure building to the south from the Azores yet again on Monday, with low pressure up to the northwest of the country. The winds are coming up from south or southwest, so a warmer push of air gets going early next week. We go through to Tuesday with high pressure dominating across much of central Western Europe. This low pressure is being blocked around Iceland and Greenland. So by the time we get through to Wednesday, we really are in a very warm southerly southeasterly flow. That could be lifting temperatures up to around 25, 26, possibly 27 degrees in one or two places down in the south. That's getting close to 80 Fahrenheit through the middle part of next week. We go into the last stage of next week, a little bit of a change on Thursday. This is a week away, Thursday, 8th of September. Low pressure is starting to come in off the Atlantic, and this looks potentially thundery, actually. The winds are still very warm from the south, so potentially quite thundery air starting to move in from the west. So we've got the winds in from the south there, and this low pressure out west could well be producing some thunder. It's quite heavy rain as well. We go through to the end of next week. This is Friday 9th of September, and that thundery low is pushing away to northwest. Again, another build of pressure from the southwest. As long as this Azores high keeps throwing up ridges into Europe, as it's been doing through most of the summer, it's why we've had a warm summer. As long as this continues, then we're going to be delaying the onset of autumn through most parts of Europe. We go towards day 10. This is Saturday 10th of September and through to Sunday the 11th of September, which is day 10. And still the idea is there. Look, high pressure is centred this time somewhere around Denmark, northern Germany, but the broad idea is still the same. The ridge around the Azores is down here. It's throwing up a ridge to there. It keeps the low pressure, which is essentially where autumn is, up to the north, as it keeps that locked in around Greenland and Iceland, and the jet stream is pushing up in that kind of direction as well, which means that the upshot is that we're just generally pulling up winds from the south or southwest, which are going to be warm, of course, in September, or any time of year. It's going to be quite warm, but late summer, you're going to continue with summer-like temperatures. No sign of an onset of autumn, except for a slightly cooler, wetter feel on Saturday. ECMWF very similar. Now, remember, a couple of days ago, there was a big split between the GFS and the ECMWF, with the, I think it was the GFS suggesting a more drier outcome, the ECM suggesting a more autumnal type outcome. They're in line now, sorted on the height anomaly chart. So for Monday, again, the ridge starts to build up from the Azores. That inflates as we go through into Tuesday. Going to be mostly warm and dry. We'll have cooler nights. The night's getting longer now, so chance of mist patches, heavy dews on the grass, and just a cooler feel night and morning. But by day, under this kind of pattern in early September, it's still going to be very warm with a lot of sunshine. Second half of next week, high pressure still there across Central Europe. Low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic, not really able to do a lot. But by Friday, it is beginning to hint perhaps at some thunder coming into the south and the west. Still a broad set of high pressure to west, low pressure, high pressure to the east, I should say, low pressure to west, and winds up from the south and the southeast. We go through into the weekend of the 10th, 11th of September, still with that broad setup, really. This does look a little bit more unsettled, but the overall idea is high pressure still there over Scandinavia, low pressure is in the Atlantic, and the flow is going rather like that. This trough over central Russia will be bringing autumn to them, but for us, we still remain on the warm side of jet stream. We still pull up these southerly winds, so summer continues for the first half of September. So that's how it's looking. There's no sign of a definitive change to autumn at this stage. We will, as I say, have a cooler, wetter spell over the weekend. But get through to next week. It looks like summer holds on for the time being. Autumn will arrive in the end, but quite when it is going to happen, let's wait and see. We'll find out this evening what our good friend Terry Scully makes of it all. He's going to be producing his September month-ahead forecast this evening, so come back to the website for that. But for the next week, 10 days, summer holds on. That's all now. Thanks for watching.